As the second Adam to ever feature on this channel, I am living proof that sequels can be hit or miss. Sometimes you get a critically acclaimed masterpiece like this, and other times you get a Wilborn. Despite how often they happen though, and we're up to 5 Adams here for example, studios don't always like to take the risk. It doesn't matter how much value is in a name, sometimes the concepts are just too far out there. That's probably why the following 7 movies, all ludicrous or totally bizarre, never made it out of the development stage, and well, I've seen them all, and thank for that. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 7 crazy sequels that thankfully never got made. Number 7, Tarantino almost directed a sequel to Inglourious Bastards called Killer Crow. Quentin Tarantino is always throwing out ideas for movies he's got no intention of making. The Vega Brothers, Kill Bill Volume 3, that Apology to Uma, they're all in a drawer somewhere collecting dust. But Killer Crow, the filmmaker's proposed sequel to Inglourious Bastards, might just have been his most tone-deaf ever. You see, it was... Actually, I'll let him explain.
It followed a bunch of black troops and they'd been over by the American military and kind of go ape. They go on an Apache warpath and kill a bunch of white soldiers and white officers in a military base, and they're just making a warpath to Switzerland. It would have been called Killer Crow or something like that.
Don't make that, mate. Cheers. Number 6. The third Jaws movie was almost a parody called Jaws 3, People Nil. After Jaws 2, the whole monster in the water genre was so oversaturated that nobody at Universal had any idea where they could go next. But it was then they were approached by David Brown and Richard Zanuck, who, inspired by the Airplane movies, had a proposition for them. What if Jaws 3 was a parody of the other Jaws movies? Their idea, which actually isn't that bad when you think about it, would have concerned a filmmaking team trying to make Jaws 3, but who then find themselves being targeted by a big, scary shark. It would have been full of in-jokes and little nods and winks at Hollywood, and yeah, just a classic parody. Universal shut down these plans though, however worried as they were that it would tarnish the legacy of the other 2 movies, and instead they made Jaws 3D, which, as I'm sure you know, is one of the worst Hollywood follow-ups since Clint Eastwood assured himself it was just a fart. Number 5. Alien 3 was almost about a guy battling xenomorphs in a giant dome. Alien 3 is perhaps the most divisive movie in the entire franchise. You probably either love it as an underrated masterpiece, or you hated it and you want it destroyed with fire, but either way, you probably know there were a gazillion different scripts for it. We nearly had Ripley fighting aliens on a giant planet made of wood, no really, or Hicks and Bishop fighting aliens as some kind of buddy space cop drama. But one that doesn't really get mentioned very much and is also absolutely the weirdest concerns a new character called Sam Smith. Not him. Smith was a soldier in a town called North Star, which was in this bubble inside of a space station and designed to resemble the United States. While there, he battled this virus, which turned people into half human, half xenomorphs, and then at the end, loads of these creatures would fuse together and become this giant xenomorph god thing. The script was called A Piece of Absolute Junk by the person who wrote it, and yeah, that was that. Number 4. Indiana Jones 3 almost had a Monkey King, and Indy coming back from the dead. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was, and I'll be very kind here, a bit weird, wasn't it? But when you look at the script that got binned off for proposed Indy sequels, it's actually one of the more tame ones. We nearly had, and I'll compose myself for this, Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. Set after the Temple of Doom, Indy journeys to Africa where he comes across a lost city. Okay, so far. While there, he looks for the Fountain of Youth and fights Nazis. Yep, still fine. But then he meets the Monkey King, who is both an actual king and an actual monkey. Getting a bit weird now. He then fights the Monkey King, who kills him with his monkey hands. And then it's okay, though, because he eats a peach, a magical peach, and comes back to life. And then rides a rhino into battle, and also one of the Nazis has a magic robot arm. How is this my job? Spielberg actually liked this script, believe it or not, but passed on it because he felt he was too old to direct another Indiana Jones movie, and in the end, we got The Last Crusade. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally feel like I have been robbed of a Monkey King, and will not rest until I get it. Who's with me? Number 3, Kevin Costner and Princess Diana almost teamed up for The Bodyguard 2. Cast your mind back to 1992, and what were the 2 things your mother liked more than anything else? Yes, 1 was The Bodyguard, and 2 was those little tinfoil hedgehogs with the cocktail sticks and the cheese and pineapple. Third was Princess Diana. Now imagine all of those things like melded together, and what you have is the concept for The Bodyguard 2. Except the, like, cheese hog thing, although it might have been, it was never a script. Anyway, Kevin Costner revealed to a frankly baffled public back in 2012 that he'd been talking to an interested Princess Diana about the possibilities of being in the sequel, and that he would take care of her the same way he took care of Whitney, which in 2018 sounds awful. Diana presumably found the idea of a convoluted conspiracy to have her murdered by a group of, I don't know, say reptiles masquerading as heads of state to be completely ridiculous though, so why would anybody want to make a movie about that? Number 2, Seven almost had a sequel called 8 about a psychic detective. Seven isn't a film that naturally lends itself to any follow-ups, given that it kind of ends in a nice, neat little box. What's in the box? But why would logic stop Hollywood when you could just simply say, oh, by the way, Detective Somerset, he's a psychic now. Oh, did we not mention that? Seven isn't a movie that feels like it naturally lends itself to any follow-ups, is it? I mean, all the plot, the characters, the story, everything. By the end of that film, it's all wrapped up in a nice, neat little... oh, what's in the box? But why be bothered by little things like logic when you're Hollywood and you can instead just write a sequel, as they actually did, that says, oh, you remember Detective Somerset, don't you? Yes, him. He's psychic. Yeah, he's psychic powers, yes. Oh, we didn't mention that in the first film. Well, he is. Yes, this was in fact actually the plan. No Brad Pitt, no Kevin Spacey, just Morgan Freeman and his now apparently psychic powers hunting down a criminal mastermind. David Fincher, the director, took one look at the script and said, what were the words here? What were his exact words? It makes no sense on a fundamental level. Bizarrely, this did actually get made into a film. Eventually, once they wrote out all the references to Seven, it became Solace in 2015, starring Anthony Hopkins. 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, in case you're wondering. Number 1, Jurassic Park 4 was almost about an insane scientist creating DINO-MAN hybrids. Before Jurassic World was put into development, Jurassic Park 4 was a thing in people's heads for a long time. The story was going to concern an ex-military operative named Nick Harris, who was hired by John Hammond to go to Isla Nublar and find the can of shaving foam that Dennis Nedry dropped. So far, so good. However, Harris is then captured and taken to Switzerland, where a mad scientist has been creating dinosaur men hybrids, which are basically just dinosaurs that can use weapons and tactics and have thumbs and all sorts of weird stuff like that, and he's then forced to train them into the ultimate killing machine. So basically, Jurassic Park meets the island of Dr. Moreau. This, rather unsurprisingly, didn't do a lot for Spielberg, who promptly put it straight into a blazing bin fire, and we got Jurassic World a few years later instead. I'd like to see it though. Anyway, yes, there you have it. 7 crazy movie sequels that, well, I said thankfully never got made at the start of the video, but the more I think about this Monkey King, the more I really want to see Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. Hashtag we want Monkey King in the comments if you'd be so kind. And of course, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, my name has been Adam Cleary, and we want Monkey King. We want Monkey King. We want Monkey King. We want Monkey King.